We're going to be taking a look at what different ways you can use practical investigations on Education Perfect. Starting in your area, head to the library, and I'm going to start in science. Best place to find these are in the NZC, New Zealand Curriculum Nature of Science strand. And within there will be a practical investigations folder. At-home science activities require no dangerous equipment, just equipment that can be found within the home, and the others are made to be done in a standard secondary science lab. Let's take a look at one of these as an example. If you were to do reactions between acids and metals, you'd find a folder, and each of our folders on investigations mirrors this one. Number one is the lesson that you assign to students. These contain an introduction section, which introduces the science ideas behind the topic, with some key things to look out for, observations. And the next section will be sort of basic follow-up questions to prompt their knowledge and understanding of what will be covered. There may be some more in-depth writing, or in this case, filling in equations, before it comes to the actual investigation, which starts off with things like introductions, safety, and what is covered. Then in the introduction section, you'll find the aims. There may be a space for a hypothesis, what material is required, including concentrations and volumes, and then a step-by-step method for each step as well. You'll often find summarized methods at the end of these, but not for all of them. Once students have completed it, they then put in their observations, and this will be followed by a long answer section where they can put in any types of discussions and talk about equations and what they saw as well, and revisit those science ideas covered earlier but in context. They can also sometimes have evaluations where they look at the accuracy, validity, and reliability. And there may be further questions, extension, or extra for experts for them to extend onto the next steps of that knowledge. A conclusion at the end will summarize everything up all together. If you are doing Year 11 science, you can start to find some senior investigations in the new NZ Year 11 science folder. The first two can be found within Living World under microorganisms. And if we're in microorganisms and disease, there are two there on food preservation, talking and catering to whangaua and food preservation, health and safety, and their links to microbial activity. Again, they follow the same format where you have that lesson you give to students. And then it's followed up with a link to the risk assessment if you use Risk Assess, and any teacher and worksheets, guides, lab technician notes if required as well. Another area where you can find practical activities on Education Perfect is to head out of the science library and into the cross-curricular library. We have for years 7 to 10, Science Alive Ngā Tauranga, and this contains different types of investigations such as Te Ara Ako, which is project-based learning, and these are full units of projects. So they contain 6 steps and carrying out a full investigation in context from the formation of ideas, known as wonder, through to the application and sharing back with the community, which is share. There is a teacher guide for how the lessons are all structured. and then structured as a way of refining home learning. So every one of them follows the same steps, and what the steps contain, or the sort of the thinking and ideas behind them, are all there with relations with Toki. Also in Science Alive Mātauranga, there are the Te Taiao investigations. So these are living world-based investigations. They are not just New Zealand curriculum living world strand, but primarily they are living world themed and contain ideas from multiple strands. So you might wish to look at Powered by the Sun, where you've got the activity with the worksheets as well, where it covers a bit of physics, a bit of energy, and looks at different types of energy from the sun. And the learning objectives are to then create an efficient solar oven with your own hypothesis, observe and interpret your results, and then draw on conclusions. And it will tell you the type of investigation for each one. So this is a fair test, but not all of them are. Some are observational studies, some are data collection. It will start just like before with the information and the ideas and science behind it, links to the Mātauranga, asking them to review that knowledge before going into the investigation itself, forming a hypothesis, and then going through the method, and a space for them to put their results. Sometimes the results require a bit more of a detailed recording, so resources are provided along with spaces to upload them. And then a more familiar sort of explanation. And a summary to finalise how it's used in application, and then back to the learning objectives. There are lots of ways to use all of these different investigations, so I encourage you to find one that you're familiar with using in a different format, and then maybe have a go at using it through EP. You might be used to if we go to Nature of Science. You might be used to doing the extraction of DNA, maybe from kiwi fruit. You might assign the extracting DNA over a couple of lessons so they can do the pre-work and then the actual work. Use the risk assessment to order your equipment. You can edit and adjust them as well before you put the order through. And you may wish to take a look through any of the guides for yourself, or if you've never want to brush up on what this entails, or hard copies of worksheets for students that might need them too.